What is up, everybody? We are here for episode number 17 of Beyond the Game. If you don't know who I am, my name is Eric Michael. I sold over $5 million in sports cards, and I own a multiple seven-figure coaching program that teaches people how to make money buying and selling sports cards. The reason I do it is, number one, I like to make money. Number two, I love to teach this stuff. It absolutely changed my life, and I truly do believe that buying and selling sports cards not going to make you rich, but is the easiest, most predictable, most fun way to make money on this planet. And sports cards is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we go on here. Now, I have some stuff to talk about. This is probably the best day of the year while I'm speaking. You guys will probably see this a few days later because tonight is the start of the football season. And I said this in one of my other podcasts, and I'll say it again. I don't know if what I'm about to say sounds manly or it sounds very sad or one of the two, but there's only one thing on this planet that truly detaches me from business and work, and that is NFL football. I sit there like an absolute zombie. It doesn't matter the game, just I don't know why. Nothing else could fully detach me from work except for that. So I'm super excited because not only do I love to watch football, but it gives me a nice mental break. I just sit there like a zombie all day on Sunday. Not saying that's healthy, just how my brain works. So a few things here to talk about. Got a list. I got like also 6 or 7 questions from you guys, sports cards and sports and business related and stuff like that. So I just want to start this before the NFL season starts. This is being recorded. We can go before the season starts. Right now, I'm speaking at September 5th. My Super Bowl pick, besides the New York Jets, because they're my favorite team, but I'm leaving them out of this because I'm biased. Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions versus Baltimore Ravens is my Super Bowl pick, and I think the Lions will edge them out. I actually think the Lions, I know this is going to sound funny, should have won the Super Bowl last year. I think they really outplayed the Niners in the NFC Championship game, and then in the Super Bowl, I think if the Chiefs came out flat like they did against the Lions would have beat them. But I think the Lions are a little bit more equipped this year. I think Goff is very underrated. I think he's an excellent quarterback. I think they'll have home field advantage, which they'll need in that dome. Like if that Lions-Niners game was in Detroit, I mean, Detroit would have won for sure. So that's my Super Bowl pick. And some other things, just some random things that kind of came to my mind as I was, going throughout my week here. So I love to play tennis. Love to play tennis. Love to watch tennis. And people ask me all the time, like, what's your opinion on like soccer cards or UFC cards, right? Or even hockey cards, right? These like cards that aren't baseball, football, and basketball. And I've talked to thousands and thousands of people. Not one person ever has brought to my attention tennis cards. Like I know a thing or two about tennis cards, but no one has ever asked me about them. And I was looking the other day, just out of curiosity, as to like what they kind of sell for. And I know like the 2000, I think it's 2002 and 2003, like net pros, like Nadal and Federer, right? Those cards sell for tons and tons of money. They're go to the sport. But I was like, okay, let's take someone like Carlos Alcaraz, who lost in the U.S. Open. He got upset by that guy from the Netherlands. I forgot his name, but I was watching that match. That guy was really good. I was just like, what does his net pro rookie card sell for? I was looking, so his numbered 100. I think it was an SGC 9.5 net pro Carlos Alcaraz. Sells for $5,000. I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of money for a tennis card. You wouldn't think that they would sell for that much, but they do. And then I started looking at all these other tennis cards of like, even like Serena Williams and Coco Gauff and all these other people like Yannick Sinner, the Italian dude who's favored to win the U.S. Open. He'll probably lose after I just said that by the time this comes out. But these cards sell for thousands of dollars. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder if there's a market here. Actually, I'm actually gonna look now on my laptop because I'm actually curious as like the newest tennis cards in 2023. I'm curious who sells for the absolute most. Oh yeah. So this kid Ben Shelton, I think he went to University of Florida. That guy's gonna be really good. He serves like 145 miles an hour. It's freaking crazy. He's one of my most favorite players. His cards sell for good money. But yeah, a lot of these tennis cards, I mean, like this Alcaraz stuff, like because tennis is like not many people like know that much or like buy and sell tennis cards. A lot of them you could buy and get graded And I'm curious here as to what the margins are. Like if you buy one raw and then sell it as a 10, now it's got me really interested. Um, so let's see, so it's number to 250 autograph rainbow is a PSA 10. Does like $4,500. And not graded. This card does about as a PSA 9 does like 1,400. And yeah, wow. Okay, so you can buy this card for around $1,400. It looks kind of easy, kind of not easy to grade, somewhere in between. And the 10's over 4 grand. That's actually really good money. I might take a look at that stuff later. I've never even thought about tennis cards. Just the U.S. Open had me thinking as I was sitting there and watching. I was like, I wonder what these sell for. And some other stuff. So I actually went back. This was like a few podcasts ago, and I was talking about Brandon Ayuk, right? Brandon Ayuk is the receiver for the 49ers, and he wanted, what was it? I think him and the Niners were off by like a few $1,000,000, and he was thinking about going, right? There were rumors about him going to the Steelers or the Patriots. And I actually think that Brandon Ayuk, that could have been the worst move he could have ever made. Think about this. I want you to think about this. Think about someone like Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady, he's a winner, okay? Because he's a winner, everyone knows his name, and he has every single opportunity after football, right? He's been that whole roast show thing that happened, and then now he's an announcer on CBS, and is it CBS or Fox? I forget. I think it's CBS. Is it Fox or CBS? One of the two. But he got bumped to number one, even though I don't think he's going to be that good of an announcer. But because he's a winner and he stays relevant, everyone knows who he is. So like Brandon Ayuk, I think he wanted an extra like $1 or $2 million a year, whatever it was, and he signed for 4 years, 120. So it's like $30 million a year. But anyways, like if you can get paid $30 million a year on the Niners, or get paid $33 million a year on the Steelers, most people are like, oh, football, especially a receiver like him, you don't last that long because his game's built on speed. Go to the Steelers, get paid more money. I would actually say do not do that, because even though your lifetime earnings from football will be a lot less, not a lot less, like a few $1,000,000 a year less, you're a winner. Everyone knows who you are. Let's be honest. If Brandon Ayuk goes to the Steelers, who's the last good Steelers receiver besides Antonio Brown, right? No one. Their offense is always backwards, and it's playing with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, right? You're not going to make the playoffs. You're not going to be on prime time that much. However, if you're on the Niners, right, you're guaranteed to go deep in the playoffs, maybe another Super Bowl appearance. And Brandon Ayuk is a big name now because he plays in the Niners, right? He's went deep in playoff runs, and we see him on prime time all the time, and he's one of Brock Purdy's favorite targets. And if he only plays, let's say 5 more years in the league, and he could have got paid $3 more million a year by another team, that's $15 million he costed himself by staying on the Niners. I think you'll make up for that way more after you're done, right? You could become, once you're a winner like that, you could make your way to becoming an NFL coach, GM, some sort of announcer, whatever your heart desires. But it just opens up so much more opportunities, and it's kind of like a resemblance of like the average person. The average person just looks at like, right, short-term gain, short-term money, short-term money, short-term money. But it's the long term you want to look at, right? Like that is what you want to do, because that is the way to like fundamentally change your life. It's kind of like right, when you get out of college, or like, you get out of high school, right? You just want to go to college or get that job so you can have that safe, secure paycheck right away. But what people fail to realize is in the long run, having that regular 9 to 5 job, which there's nothing, I have nothing against it, right? If that's your goal and that's what you want to do, go for it. That's what you should do. But instead of getting that 9 to 5 job right away and satisfying your parents and getting that quick paycheck in the door, what you fail to realize is like, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, when you're locked into a 9 to 5 job and you have a family and a mortgage and a kids, and you see your employer lays people off all the time, you realize your income is not controlled by yourself, number one. And number two, you don't make as much money as you could have if you just spent that time in your 20s or your 30s developing and building a skill. Even though you might not make money right away, eventually you will. And building a skill, whether it's buying and selling sports cards or buying and selling real estate or whatever, that lasts you for the rest of your life, right? And Ayuk, I don't know if the Niners ended up offering him more than he could have got elsewhere, but regardless, he made the smart move because that is the long-term career move that he made. And kind of piggybacking off of that, you know who I have a lot of respect for? A lot of respect for this guy, Archie Manning. Okay, right, back up to Quinn Ewers on Texas. 5-star recruit, nephew of Peyton Manning. He's the son of Cooper Manning. Cooper Manning, for those of you guys that don't know, I believe. So he's the brother of Eli and Peyton. He was a receiver, and he had some sort of injury in high school or college where he couldn't go on any farther. He's the Manning you probably don't know. There's Cooper, Eli, and Peyton, and they're all sons of Arch Manning, the former Saints quarterback. And why do I have a lot of respect for this kid? Because he is playing. I mean, he's obviously getting guidance from like Peyton and Eli, of course, like obviously, but he's like not taking the short approach. Like he is gonna when he starts, so he's gonna start next year, right? He doesn't have a chance of starting this year because Quinn Ewers, the quarterback for Texas right now, is a first-round pick. They're not going to put Archie Manning over him, but he was kind of raw coming out of high school. Like he played, I don't know, what was it, Mississippi or something, and the competition he played against sucked. Honestly, he probably didn't even deserve to be a 5-star recruit, but his last name's Manning, so that's probably why that happened. And instead of just rushing into he probably could have went to like another school without a first-round quarterback sitting there and started right away the next year. But he played a smart. He knows that when he first starts his junior year, he's going to be fully ready and prepared. He's taking the delayed gratification approach for much more success down the line. At least that's what I believe, right? Especially because they said when he came into college, he was not prepared or ready to play at all. Archie Manning. Now I think he looks a lot better. I watched him play a little bit in the spring game, but massive respect for him because that's not easy to do, especially if you're like super like hyped like that, all that stuff. So got that. Now I'm gonna move on to some questions. So this guy put his name as Eric Michaels bitch. I think that's a compliment, so appreciate it. But he says, let's say you buy a Paul Skeens rookie card today. Baseball's almost over. When would you send it into grade? If it gets a good grade, you personally hold it closer to spring training. And when would you look to sell it if you bought the card in the current time frame? All right, Eric Michaels bitch. I have a very direct answer for you. So it's dependent on so this is exactly what I tell like students who like pay me money. So if you have $5,000 laying around, and let's say you spend all that money on a bunch of baseball cards, and they all come back to you and they're all tens, and let's say that 5,000 is now 10,000. Let's pretend, and you get these cards back in October, and there's two options. Let's say you could predict the future. Option A is you could hold these cards and you can make 25% more money because as the season gets closer, most of those cards will appreciate. Or you could sell it right now, take the 10 grand and repeat what you just did. If you only have 5 grand in the bank and you depleted yourself, it doesn't make sense to hold these cards 3, 4, 5 months to make another 20, 25% because you could take that money right now, sell it, even though if you held it, you would have made 20, 25% more just on those cards. You could take that money and repeat what you did 2 or 3 more times before those cards ever appreciated 20%, right? It's something in business that's called opportunity cost. It's like, in layman's terms, right? If you could sell something over here and make $200 or sell something over here and make $100, if you sell the thing for $100 instead of selling it over here, your opportunity cost is $100, right? Because by not taking the action that made you more money, you cost yourself $100. Now, if you have 25, 30, 50 grand laying around and it doesn't matter if you sell those cards right away, hold them. You might as well, right? The money's better sitting in cards rather than sitting in the bank, right? The bank's not going to pay you that much in interest. So that's the answer to that. So it just depends on your budget. And also, if you're newer to sports cards, what I tell people is just sell stuff right away and make money, especially if you get it graded, right? Prove to yourself that this actually works, right? Because obviously a bunch of you guys watching this and people in my program are skeptical, right? You see some guy running around online saying, "Hey, I can make you money with sports cards." You're skeptical, right? Because there's all these people running around online promising you the world. So what I would say, if you're new to sports cards, sell it right away, get cash in the door, and actually prove to yourself and give yourself confidence to get your wife off your back or your uncle or your aunts or your parents or whoever. Hopefully that answers your question. Oh, this is a good one. Ooh, this is a good one. You don't want to put your name. This is attacking me in some passive aggressive way. How is what you're doing different than the basic pump and dump on the stock market? You basically tell 40,000 followers to buy these cards, and then when the price is high, you dump yours in the market. No. So, all right, I don't know what your name is. So, to be honest with you, okay, so a few things to that. Number one, a lot of the times when I say who I'm going to buy a player, like if you go back to my last podcast, like someone I was talking about was Marcelo Meyer. I haven't bought one card of his yet. It's just someone who I'm thinking about buying. I haven't bought any of them yet. And I'm going to dump those cards in spring training. That's number one. Number two, sports cards makes me 10, 20, 30 grand profit a month, which is a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to like my coaching business. That's the actual real driver of my income. I buy and sell sports cards because I like to, and it's fun, and it happens to be good content as well for my business. So it's not worth it for me to risk my reputation for a multiple 7-figure business that I own to make an extra like few grand. Like hopefully it doesn't come across cocky, but it's just not worth it. But I know what you're referring to. I know during the pandemic, Gary Vee was like, I mean, he has, his following is millions and millions and millions of people, way different. I don't think what I say really affects the sports card market. I only have 40,000 followers. Maybe if I had 4 million, you'd see some effects. But I know Gary Vee would he would say things along the lines of like, I think Michael Jordan 1986 Fleers are the next best purchase. And there were all these newbies that knew nothing about sports cards and just thought he knew what he was talking about. And honestly, he's probably not that embedded in sports cards. He probably doesn't know too much. And those cards would just skyrocket. I remember like one specific instance, like a Giannis, what's Giannis 2013 Prism PSA 10s. He was like, Giannis is the next great buy. He's going to go up. And then his stuff like doubled the next day after Gary Vee made a tweet. But then Gary Vee stopped doing it. And he came out and apologized because he didn't realize that he was pumping the market that much. I mean, once again, like Gary Vee is making millions and millions and millions of dollars a month. It's not worth it for him to risk his reputation over making an extra 20, 30, 40 grand in a month. It's kind of similar to like what I'm getting at here. Like obviously I make nowhere near the money Gary Vee does, but it's just not worth risking the reputation, right? To like make an extra few grand. I know people that do shit like that in sports cards where they will like, try to screw someone over out of $500. But what they don't realize, it's kind of like that like delayed gratification thing I was saying in the beginning. What they don't realize is like you're costing yourself much more money in the long term. Like think about it at its most fundamental level. Like let's say like I want to scam somebody out of $5,000, right? In the sports card market. If I do that, right, there will be pictures and posts of me everywhere. And I will never be able to do another deal. And even though I made a quick 5 grand by scamming somebody, I actually cost myself much more money in the long run because now I can't do deals with people. It's kind of like how I always say, like be fair because you create good relationships and those relationships will make you much more money in the long run. Similar concept, except like the inverse. Hopefully that makes sense. Steve says, I have a personal collection of baseball cards. Nearly $30,000, meaning some are vintage or old timers. What is the best approach to get the older player cards graded? For example, I have Mike Schmidt, George Brett, Juan Soto rookie cards. I see when you said rated, I'm assuming you meant to say graded. I see the graded cards are able to fetch bigger money. But is there a market for them? Yes, there's a massive market for them. So what I would say about the older cards from the 80s and the 90s and the 70s, those cards are extremely difficult to grade. Like, good luck. It's not going to be easy to do that because they're very flimsy and they get damaged very easily. Now, what I would say about like the newer cards, because you said you have like some Juan Soto cards, so what I would say about that is the fundamental rule. I always talk about it. You want to make sure you're going to at least double your money at the end of the day. So if it's gonna cost you $20 to get a card graded, you want to make sure you can at least net $40 if that card grades a 10. At least at the minimum. So that's a nice little rule I go by. Hopefully that answers your question, Steve. Dave says, I'm a seller of raw cards and rarely grade. What is the best way to maximize my earning potential? To grade cards. That's the simple answer. If you're not grading cards, now, if you're making money flipping raw cards, which I don't know how you do, I mean, or make any decent money doing that, get them graded. There's your answer. Like, you're only costing yourself money. Like, if you're selling raw cards already, like the reason why grading is such an amazing game. And someone actually asked me on the other day, they're like, why doesn't everyone buy and sell sports cards? It seems easy. I mean, it's not like super easy. You need the right information, but fundamentally, like it is pretty easy, right? Like if you take let's take one of these cards. Like if you take like this card of Victor Wembanyama, for example, like this card not graded is like 4 grand. A 10 is about 10 to 11 grand. Okay. And if this card grades a 9, you'll about break even. That's why sports cards are so great, right? You could buy this card for 4 grand. If it grades a 9, you'll break even, maybe lose a little bit, make a little bit. It depends on the card. And if it grades a 10, you double to triple your money. That's a great thing, right? Especially if you know what you're doing, you can grade 10s about 60 to 70% of the time. I have students that do like 80 to 90. But think about it, like it's basically what you're doing is you're flipping a coin, and if it lands on heads, you double your money, and if it lands on tails, you break even. Would you flip that coin? Of course you would. But obviously there's like more to it to be able to flip that coin properly, right? Like knowing how to negotiate, when to buy certain cards, how to determine the condition of the card. That's obviously a very important one because so many people come to me and they're like, like I've sent in 20 cards for grading and none of them graded a 10. So like obviously I'm trying to make it sound as basic as possible, but that's the beautiful thing about business. Like the beautiful thing about business is like once you get it right, you can just repeat, and pour gasoline on the fire, right? Once you see something works, you could just go 100 miles an hour at it. So it's like I believe it was Alex Hermosi or Jeff Bezos had a great quote. The difference between like baseball and business and like sports cards is like in baseball. So like okay, this is a good example. This is a very good analogy. So if you fail in business, it's like striking out, right? And if you succeed in business, it's like hitting a grand slam. You can round the bases a million times or 1,000 times or whatever, right? That's why business is such an amazing thing once you finally figure it out because you can just viciously rinse and repeat the same exact process that keeps making you money over and over again. You just have to learn the skills to obviously be able to make that function. That's why business is so amazing. Let's see. Philly says, I think that's your name, Philly. Which months are the best to buy for each sport, and which months should you sell your cards in? So, like, keep them. I'll tell you like the general, but it is like card dependent. Like for example, like I sold Sam Howell cards in the beginning of August because he had a spike. I waited longer to sell Trevor Lawrence cards because I was hoping he would have a spike and he didn't. I only made a little bit of money. So like you're kind of sitting there and waiting for the perfect time to do it. But so the best time to sell. Okay, so like January, February, March, April. Actually, no, scratch that. So February, March, April, May, best time to buy football. June, July, best time to buy basketball, and August some. September, October, November, December, best time to buy baseball. Right, so it works out perfectly. You could just keep this cycle going over and over again. And the best time, what's up, Frank? And the best time to sell would be so the best time to sell football is August. But once again, it's dependent. Like if you have a guys that skyrocket in value in July, sell it. Best time to sell baseball, March. Best time to sell basketball, September, maybe beginning October. So hopefully that answers your question, Billy. All right. We got Chris says, hey, I'm in a bit of a career change right now. I'm not a fan of my job. Sorry to hear that. I finished my master's in cybersecurity in a few weeks, but my question is, should I just leave my job right now and use my 401k to fund my sports card business full time for the time being? I've been in your program, sent in a few cards to get graded, just waiting for them to get back out so I got scale bigger if I had more money. What are your thoughts? All right, Chris, you're already in Major League Profits. All right, so I'll give you my thoughts, Chris, but once again, keep in mind, I have a massive tolerance for risk. I look at life very differently than the average person before I say what I'm about to say. So keep that in mind. So if I was someone in your position, my goal in life, right? Most people's goal in life, as I'm assuming your goals in life, is time freedom, right? You want to make, 70, 80, 90, 100 grand a year, but doing it yourself so you can, do what you want. Go play tennis in the morning or go to yoga. These are things I do. But that's most people's goals. Most people's goals aren't to become filthy rich. That money's sitting in a 401k. It'll compound. It'll appreciate. You'll have a lot of money, but when you're 65 years old, yeah, what fun is that, right? If you're younger, Chris, which you sound like you're younger, especially if you're in school, right? That's your goal, right? The goal in life is happiness. Happiness is by developing a skill now that could print you money so you're living a good life while you're young, right? Like, what good is having $1 million in cash when you're 70, right? You don't have the same energy. You'd rather be making that money now. So, like me, for example, when I first started buying and selling sports cards, I used all my money, every penny, every single penny. I used it all. I remember I had $4,000 saved up from delivering pizza. Bought my first sports card. It was a Steven Matz. He used to be a prospect, like pitcher for the New York Mets. Bought it for $500. Sold it for $888. And then I just was like, oh shit, this works. And I went all in. And because like the people that go all in and have those aggressive mentalities are the ones that succeed at insane levels in life. Not saying that's me at all, but I'm just telling you the mindset you need to have to live the life you want to live. So like, I think money in a 401k is useless, right? Like I come from the mindset that like money in the bank is no good. You want that money invested in assets and developing skills. So hopefully, Chris, that answered your question. I don't want to give you financial advice because I'm sure you have a wife and a family and responsibilities and all that stuff. But easy for me to say because I was single and I'm young, so I could take massive, massive swings and risks, and that's what I did. But ask yourself, pulling that money out of your 401k, simply put, can you make it? Can you make more than that 10% a year it makes, or 8% or 7% with sports cards? If you're in my program, I know it could. For a fact, you could do that within a month. So that's my answer to your question, Chris. Hopefully that makes sense. Dwayne says, "What's the best way to sell my Michael Jordan cards? I have several. Depends on the cards. And by getting them graded if they're in good condition. You can just DM me a picture or send it to me, and I'll let you know." Ricky says, "What time of the year the best to buy sports, football, basketball, baseball?" I kind of answered that already. Ricky, you can go back and listen to that one. Dante says, best current boxes to buy to open packs, the best ROI ripping packs. Thoughts on, I realize they're expensive boxes, mystery boxes, trying to see from retail pickups to higher end boxes. What are the best things to look out for? For like Target, Walmart, and then for upper echelon boxes specific, where should I be going to look for? I bought and sold toys through high school and college, putting myself through college. I've been collecting screen year movie props for 25 years, and this whole sports card thing has me really going because I something sports cards in high school, but not like this. Any help would be appreciated. Okay, I think that was some English. So Dante, opening up packs and boxes, you're gonna lose money. There's your answer. None of them have a positive ROI in the long run. You can get lucky, sure, and make a little bit of money in the short term, but over the long run, I wouldn't suggest doing any of that stuff. The way to make money is by buying cards, grading them, and flipping them. That's the way to make money. So opening up packs. Now you could buy packs and boxes and hold on to them. Most appreciate. You could do that. That's long term money. So hopefully that makes sense. And Chris says, I'm thinking about joining your program with my girlfriend. We would like to supplement our income with flipping sports cards. My question I have for you, is there any way to flip some cards now of one player and keep for later, just in case they skyrocket in the future? Just like a hybrid system to speak. Like I wouldn't do that, Chris, because you're just costing yourself money. Like even like Victor Wembanyama, like this card I'm holding, even if it doubles in value in a year, which isn't going to happen, most guys go down. It's not worth it to hold modern cards long term. You can make more money, but just by doing what I teach you in the program of flipping, right? So the goal is to make money, right? You said you want to supplement your income, and you could take some of the money, some of the profits you make, and put it back into like PC if you want to do that. I wouldn't have a PC till you've made a bunch of money, because the more money you have, the more money you can make. But hopefully that answers your question, Chris. And that's it for the questions. And yep, that would be it for the questions. So I got to end this a little bit earlier than usual today, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions for me, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Always feel free to hit me up in the DMs or message me, comment, wherever. And I'll be back after the football season starts. I'm sure I'll have much more to talk about. Peace out.